lleve en su vuelo. Regalo el viento, siente la vida, como va por dentro, cuídalo todo que ahora.
Camera is rolling and stand by. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, I'm Dr. Rona Fields. I'm a psychologist now, and 40 years ago this month, I was teaching at California State University, Los Angeles, working on my doctorate at the University of Southern California, and I'd heard about a group called Young Chicanos for Community Action, who had a coffee house named La Piranha in East LA. And I was very interested in learning more about the Mexican-American community, and especially young people. So I went to the coffee house, not knowing what to expect, and I became involved in what has been a 40-year commitment. I met the young Brown Berets, then young, and now, of course, I've continued in contact with them. Many of them are grandfathers. I'm a grandmother. And what came out of the initial work was my dissertation. And it's called Brown Berets, Social Action in the Schools of Los Angeles. What we're about to do now is have a conversation with some of the founding members, because I'm interested in getting back into their heads about what that action has meant in their lives and what they see their actions have as meaning in the larger community. We're at a time right now when gang violence has escalated, where the schools in Los Angeles are producing as many dropouts and failures, particularly amongst minorities, particularly amongst Latin American Hispanic students, as they did in 1967. And now we have a change in the power structure in Los Angeles. We have Mexican Americans, or Chicanos, whichever you want to call them, as administrators of these social institutions. But we still have some of the same problems. So, part one of this conversation is with the original founders. I want to try to get into their heads and share with you what they were thinking about, what they were planning about, and what came out of their involvement. The second part of this conversation will be with younger people, younger members of the Brown Berets, and I'm going to put to them the facts about the current programs in the schools in the city and so forth, and the gang violence, and ask them to talk about what they can see as appropriate social action, what they need to do, what we need to do as a society to move forward in 2007 from where we started back in 1967. I hope you'll be as edified by the conversation as I expect to be. Here we go.
Okay, stand by. Take your rolling in. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello. Here I am with 4 of the 5 original Brown Berets. We're having a conversation. It is now 40 years since the founding of this organization. Sitting next to me, on my left, is David Sanchez, who is the founder and Prime Minister and is still operating in that capacity. And I'm going to ask everybody else to introduce themselves so that you can get the faces and the voices. On the speakerphone is Ralph Ramirez. Ralph?
Yes, this is Ralph Ramirez.
And Ralph was one of the founders. Would you like to just give a quick little bio your position in the organization?
Along with David Sanchez and Richard Adams and some other students at Roosevelt High School, we formed the Young Citizens for Community Action, which later became Young Chicanos for Community Action, and which later became the Brown Berets. And of that group, I was the original Minister of Discipline.
Great. Okay, we move the microphone now to my right. And you are?
Jerónimo Blanco.
And what was your position and part in the Brown Berets?
I rose from soldado in the Brown Berets to the position of National Commander.
Okay, and to your right?
My name is Luis Rodriguez. I came up in the ranks as 13th Officer of Communications of Brown Berets, an organizer.
And to David's left?
My name is Frank Reyes Norwood, and I've been active for the past 4 years and still try to do something for our community, our people.
Okay. As I said, this is a conversation. It's not a question and answer. I hope you'll all participate and speak up on these questions. First of all, what were you seeking when you formed Young Chicanos for Community Action and before that, Young Citizens for Community Action? What were you all looking for? So just speak up. You don't have to just give each other turns, but try to bounce off of each other.
Well, this is Ralph Berets speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, we're talking about early in mid-1967. We were more interested in becoming part of the established political system. So we were involved in things like assisting the United Farm Workers and helping Dr. Nava become the first Chicano to get elected to the Los Angeles Unified School District board. But as the more we participated in things like this, the more resistance that we would get from the LAPD and the LA County Sheriff's Department. And that is what caused us to take a more militant stance to work outside of the system instead of inside the system, because we saw that working inside the system wasn't getting anything done.
David, what were you looking for? You gave a lot of yourself to the start of this organization. Please.
Well, I think just having a vision that perhaps La Raza, it could be strong. We saw that trying to assimilate into the system was not working for us because we were not being accepted into the system. Matter of fact, we were the unaccepted class at that time, and we still are. Nonetheless, we felt that something had to be done more. We had to rise the stakes, and that's why we started the Brown Berets, because we felt the Brown Berets would be the ideal psychological ploy to bring attention to the problems of the Mexican American community.
What did you see as the main social actions that you needed to take back when you were in the coffee house phase? Were you all in the coffee house as well?
Not I.
No.
Well, the coffee house was being harassed by the sheriffs, and they would close. They'd come in at 10 o'clock, and anybody that was under 18 years old, they'd come into the coffee house and they'd take our youth away and give them tickets for curfew and take them to the police station. So we started picketing the police station because they were harassing our coffee house.
And when you had the coffee house, what were you going to try to achieve by having an open door coffee house? What was the goal of the coffee house?
Well, I think the main goal was to give youth a place where they feel comfortable, a place where they can hang out, somewhere where they can socialize away from the gangs and away from the violence, kind of a home for the young people.
So it was really a social service program, and in that way combating some of the worst elements of East Los Angeles, which was gang violence.
Gang violence, drugs, and alcohol.
And the coffee.
And also,
Yes.
this is Ralph Ramirez, if I may add that the coffee house was considered like a neutral zone, so people from any neighborhood could go there and not fear any kind of violence against them or retribution.
Was one of the objectives, because I seem to recall it, also to reduce the interracial gang violence?
Yes, that was also part of it.
At that time in Los Angeles, 1967, had there been a large spurt in black on brown violence?
Yeah, there were a number of wars going on between black and brown community. For example, in Ramona Gardens, there was a war going on there with black and brown people. And the Brown Berets were the first ones to go out there and stop the violence between the black and brown community in Ramona Gardens.
That's a remarkable achievement, and I don't hear much about it. Tell us more about that, and tell us more about what kinds of things you did in the coffee house to try to bring people together. Because I recall from my own experience there that there were times that you had, I think, Stokely Carmichael speak, and times that you had H. Rap Brown speak. Tell us about that. What was the purpose of these speakers, and who was the audience, and what did you see yourself trying to do?
I think just learn. We were all very young at the time, and we all wanted to learn about what everybody had to say, so we can compare notes and kind of draw our own destiny as far as where our community can go or where our community should go for its survival. Because this has been one of the biggest issues in our community: is survival. The high dropout rate then, the high unemployment rate then, the discrimination, job discrimination in all the job markets. So it was almost impossible for La Raza to get ahead during those times, and things have changed a little bit.
How about the rest of you? Do you have any ideas about that? Would you like to join the conversation on that issue?